Okay, so students, for this assignment, I'm going to go through the answers, and then when we do 5.2, I will actually go through the coding part on how to look up the code to get the correct answer. So let's just start here with 5.1 with without referring to your alpha, underline the word that indicates the main term. So when we're talking main term, this is what you are going to look in the alpha to find that code. So this first one here is going to be infarction. So if you would go and looked for myocardial or acute as your main term, it's going to say C condition. Okay. Second one here, the same thing. You usually don't want to start off with a body part. You want to go with what's wrong with the patient. We have hypertrophy, cholecystitis here for the next one. The next one here, number 4, is aneurysm. Again, we're looking at what's wrong with the patient for the main term. The next one here is going to be delivery, and then we go to overdose, infection. That's going to take us to E. coli, and then pneumonia, and then the last one's going to be hernia. Okay, so let's go here and we're going to start off with coding. For this first one, we have chronic hypertrophy of the tonsils and adenoids. Okay, one thing I do know is that it'll be a little bit different here because I have an electronic book. You're using the paper copy, which all of you really need to learn how to do the paper copy. You won't be using the electronic book till next year once we get into advanced coding. So let's go here. We look for our main term, all right, and then we go to our subterm. So it's adenoids, but we know it's with tonsils, so we need to go again. You need to look the furthest you can go. So we have the code J35.3. Now, if you need to pause the tape, you want to go to the tabular to make sure that you want to look through your excludes notes. Okay. We don't have tonsillitis or anything like that, so we're fine with our J35.3 code. There's not any more digits to add. So for that code, number 1 is pretty self-explanatory. Okay, so for number 2, we have fibrocystic disease of the breast, female. Okay, so let's go to our code book. And if I go to disease and then look down, system's a little bit slow here. Okay, so then I have fibrocystic disease or fibrocystic. So it tells us to go right to fibrocystic disease. Okay, so once I'm there, I have disease, and we know it's of the breast. Now it's telling me to look up mastopathy cystic. So now you want to go to the M section, correct? Everybody should be there. Let me just pull up. It's female, okay, because that does make a difference. So with this, it's telling us N60.1. Now you want to go to the tabular and look up N60.1 because you know right here with that little dash that we need another digit. So once you go to your tabular, we don't know if it's right, we don't know if it's left, it's unspecified. Just with the documentation, it's not giving us enough, so we have to go with the 1.9. Okay, so let's go ahead to the next one. We have mastoiditis. So that's going to be my main term. Keep in mind you can pause the tape as much as you want. And look at here. Suppurative is in parentheses right behind it. Let me just make this a little bit smaller because I like to have them both side by side so I know what I'm looking up. This a little bit smaller. Okay, so that is, we're covering the suppurative. I want to go down to acute right here, subperiosteal. Okay, so we know we want to go to, once again, H70.01, and then we have a little dash. That means we need another digit. Okay, so once I go here, once again, our number 3 is not giving us enough to go left or right. So on that note, I'm going to have to go and specify it again. So we know it's H0.019. Remember, do not interchange the zeros and the O's. This is a very good example even on the exams. Make sure you are well aware of the difference between the two. Okay, so next one here, this one can be a little tricky. We have a hernia. So once we get hernia, system's a little slow. You want to go down. Okay, so I have hernia. You want to go to my subterm. Okay, so right here, let's see what else we have. So my first two words, we know it's recurrent, we know it's direct. We have a lot going on here. So here direct is in parentheses, correct? So that's included. So we know it's with gangrene, okay? And we go down further to our next subterm, recurrent. Okay, so everything is covered. But let's see if there's not anything here. One thing to remember, it does say unilateral, so that covers the left. Now bilateral, if it said left and right, then we would have wanted to code bilateral. So once you look it up in the tabular, there's no notes that we need to code anything more. So my code's going to be K40.41. Okay, and the next one here we have, this one's kind of tricky because you can actually go, we have infection, you could probably go to influenza. Some of these you can use more than one main term. So let's just start off here with what they state infection. Okay, we have upper respiratory infection. Okay, so with this right here we have respiratory and one infection. You go down to your subterm respiratory. And I know you won't go as fast as I am, so make sure you do pause the tape. So we have influenza. So we have influenza with respiratory manifestations. So basically what it's telling you to do, see influenza. So I'm going to go, let's go this route. So if I am you, and I'm looking it up in my book, now I'm at influenza. And let's see what it all covers here. We have influenza, respiratory, we have upper. Okay, so with this, we want to go down respiratory manifestations, or we just go right here with the J11.1. So we don't have anything that states acute or chronic, so we're going to go with just the J11.1. You are going to look it up in your tabular. And here we have additional notes, but none of them apply. Okay, some of these won't have more information than we need, put it that way. These are just one-liners. They're a great way to start off. Okay, number 6, we have cyst. And I am going to go to breast. We know it's benign and we know it's the right. So with this, you're going to look up cyst. I'm going to go down to breast, benign, and it's N60.0. So now you're going to look that up in your tabular. So go ahead and, pause the tape till you get there. So I'm in N60.0. I know that it is, right here it says benign, and it's right. So I'm going to go to right, so N60.01, and I have right. So that is my total code, correct? So click onto that. So, all right, so now we have a bunion of the right great toe. So we're going to start off here with bunion. All right, with that, it doesn't say that it was Taylor's, so we're going to go right to, in the tabular, to M21.61. Okay, so M21.61. And we know it is of the right. So that's going to be my code, M21.611. That one should have been pretty easy. This one here, it's a few steps. Let's look. We have a non-displaced duction fracture, anterior, acetabular column, subsequent encounter with routine healing. So my one thing here, I'm going to go to fracture. And one thing when you are coding fractures, okay, and you'll get more detailed when we get to the injury section, musculoskeletal section. All of your fractures, you are going to assume that they are traumatic unless there is a disease such as osteoporosis, something like that, a bone disease, then it's going to be pathological. But we are going to assume, so you're going to go fracture traumatic. Okay, so that's what I have. And look at here, we have our non-essential modifiers, which is also there. So that's good. We know we want to go right here. Acetabulum, we want to go to the column. We want to go to anterior. Okay, so that takes us to S3 2.43. So I guess if I go down here to non-displace, we know that too. But I need that 7th character yet. So let's go to the tabular. A lot of students forget the 7th character. This is why it's very important to go to the tabular. This is something you would get wrong on the exam. So if I click on to S3 2.46, I know that this is subsequent, but how do you find that 7th character? Let me expand this. So if you go to the beginning of 732, go all the way up. So you are looking for the category S32, okay? So the beginning of category S32, it gives you all the different 7th characters to be added. So here we know it's subsequent, so that's why I'm going to go ahead and code that for my 7th character. Okay, so for number 9, as you can see, the answer here is 2 codes. Remember, if the one code doesn't cover everything in my statement, then I'm going to need 2 codes. So we are going to stop this tape and I'm going to come back